This is Hacienda Baru, which is on the lower southern third on the Pacific side. I mean, it's a great little hacienda. The owner, Gringo, bought a fairly large tract of land, maybe 800 acres or something, that used to be a ranch land, and he, back in the 60s, 70s, converted it or let it go back to nature, if you will, and has started a nature reserve. This is the inside of one of the rooms. It's very clean, very comfortable, very well taken care of. It's pretty sweet. You got these iguanas everywhere. They live on the property, and every single one of these guys lives in one of these small little drain pipes that are next to the doors on most of the rooms. My recommendation is to, if you're going to rent a place, I don't care where it is, always try to get the end unit. Don't get a unit in the middle, because you don't know if you're going to have two strangers on either side. So it is always better to be at the end of a row of units. It's actually quite much better to go ahead and get a standalone little casita that you don't have any neighbors around you. I mean, it just increases the pleasure of it. The other big piece of advice is, since everything costs in Costa Rica, like hiking, beaches are still for the most part free, but when you have a hacienda that's connected and is part of a wildlife reserve, then you can typically, with the rent that you pay, is included the hiking trails, and not only do they have hiking trails, they have adventure slides and jump, some zip lining, etc. So those aren't free, but you can also pay for guides. But I found this place to have a very professional staff. They had a restaurant on site. When you go to the restaurant, always buy, well, don't always buy, but my recommendation from a cost standpoint is to buy the local casada, which is beans, rice, some steamed vegetables, and typically it'll come with a meat, or you can get a vegetarian, but that ended up being about 12 bucks or so a person, and it was reasonable. Anyway, this is a hiking trail. You don't pay extra for it if you are renting. There are truckloads of folks and busloads of people that come. Now, here's an interesting scenario. So we're hiking, and all of a sudden these white-faced monkeys are basically patrolling this little area. There's a couple ahead of us, and we can see that they're kind of watching these Capuchins, or they're called white-faced monkeys, and they were aggressive. I mean, they were not being cool and chilled. I mean, they were definitely extremely territorial. The gnashing of teeth was definitely something that they were engaged in, and they were really communicating, get out of our territory. I don't know why, whether there were some newborn babies or something, but a couple, the bigger males, definitely were showing us that they weren't afraid of us, and they were trying to scare us away. And it is a little bit frightening, because boom, all of a sudden you turn around and there's another one like getting closer and closer to you. So, and they're showing these teeth, and you're thinking, those teeth do look pretty sharp. So it's an effective intimidation, if you will. So not all monkeys are cool and chilled and look how cute they are. These guys were quite the contrary. I mean, this is the only time I've ever seen them being quite that aggressive. But you know, I mean, this is a nature reserve. This is the wild. They may not be as used to humans. There are other parts of Costa Rica that these guys are extremely chilled. They'll come up and they'll steal a sandwich right out of your backpack or out of your hand if you let them. So, but these guys were not that chill. They were definitely tell us to get lost, and this is their territory. So. Had enough of that, and then we eventually left them. So again, back to the concept of, when you stay at a hacienda that's connected to a reserve, then included with that is the ability to do these hikes, and it's really worth it. So you're not having to pay an extra 12 bucks or $15 per person for every single hike. And there's like 2 or 3 different hikes that are included with this particular property. So and one of the hikes takes you across the road, up the way, and you can actually see right down to Baru Beach, which is really a beautiful area. There is also connected to this Hacienda, just down the street, about a mile, is a rather nice, as far as the eye can see, Baru beach. I mean, you can go look left, look right, and there's nothing but beach. And I think it's a turtle sanctuary also. I think that's partly why it's a protected area. But it was really quite spectacular. Now, the riptides are pretty strong there, so I kind of remember that everybody was a little bit apprehensive on getting in. I mean, we got in just enough to cool off, but nobody jumped in deep and started swimming around. Especially, I think that we had a previous experience where we got stuck in a riptide, and it was definitely a bit on the dangerous side. So anyway, the monkeys are still doing their thing, and we continue our journey, and you're going to see that shortly after this. I think this hike is maybe an hour and a half, or perhaps a round trip. We cross the street, and you do have to cross the highway, and then you see we ran across this green dart frog, which are apparently quite poisonous, and I definitely wasn't going to touch him, but looks benign enough, but highly recommended. Watch what you're grabbing. Be careful. There's the green eyelash viper. There's the fer-de-lance snakes. They're all highly venomous. So this is the view. This is Baru Beach, Playa Baru, and it really is quite spectacular. Here's another one of these Capuchin monkeys, the white-faced monkey. He's a little bit more chilled.